Pulse first on BBC One, Watchdog Healthcheck with Alice Beer.
Hello and welcome to Watchdog Healthcheck, live from Television Centre. On the programme tonight, stomach ulcers and the cure that's the medical profession's best kept secret. Can't sleep, won't eat, tackling temper tantrums the psychologist's way. And red wine for some lucky people, it's now doctor's orders. That's Watchdog Healthcheck, the programme that looks after your health. The team's live here in the studio answering your calls on our new national rate number 0870 010 7070 with counsellors from the National Childbirth Trust and the National Breastfeeding Network, and of course John Nicholson and Dr. Mark Porter. Now, hospital dramas, we love them. White coats and stethoscopes are a big turn-on for TV viewers. Top of the charts, Peak Practice and Casualty. 12 million viewers switch on for each episode. We sent the real thing, Dr. Mark Porter, to meet his small screen counterparts.
Welcome to Cardale, where they treat medical drama surprisingly seriously. No medical scenes are shot without the prior approval of local GP Tim Parkin.
We try to put some sort of educational qualities into it, and certainly we try to get as accurate as possible. I think we have a responsibility to be accurate.
Do you think it's important that you get things medically spot on?
Yes, I do actually, because otherwise, I mean, if we make some basic mistake in a diagnosis or something, no one will believe the show. It's got to be researched properly. The first episode we did was about meningitis.
I've watched Peak Practice since the very beginning, and a fortnight ago I sat and watched the one on meningitis. Like most parents, I probably thought to myself, oh, you know, it's your worst nightmare.
How long's he had a fever? It's just been a cold, it's been all day.
He seems to have a stiff neck, he's very uncomfortable.
I thought Jordan had the flu because she was showing flu-like symptoms, and it was only when my partner and I noticed this rash had come up all over her body that we knew something was wrong. So we phoned my mum.
Have you got a glass?
A what?
A glass, a beaker.
I said, Laura, just get a glass, put it on Jordan's tummy and tell me what you see.
What's wrong? I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. O'Shaughnessy. I think Darren has meningitis.
Without Peak Practice, I wouldn't even have thought of, you know, the glass.
The hospital staff told me that if we'd left it an hour later, then we would have lost her. So it's thanks to my mum really watching the programme and knowing what to do that we got her there quick enough and that she's still with us today.
We are in the very fortuitous position of having a lot of people watching us, so we can talk about all sorts of important kind of things. And if it helps anybody in any way, then, you know, kind of, I think we're doing a good job.
When Peak Practice first hit the air in '93, the programme producers had no idea how much impact it would have. From having little or no backup to deal with the viewers' inquiries, they now have a dedicated helpline which received 7,000 calls after the meningitis episode.
Now I wonder where they're going.
Scenes in accident and emergency can also help the viewer. We visited the set of Holby General to find out just how accurate they are.
I like to know what I'm talking about. You know, if I'm talking about a particular illness, I like to have the information, because then I think you look as though you know what you're talking about. Well done, Gordon. How did it happen?
He was bitten.
By what?
By her.
On any of the medical days, we have a consultant, a doctor and a nurse standing by. Sometimes their hands stand in for hours because it's all very fiddly.
It's very important, if we're featuring the medical content very carefully, we have to written into the producer and actually said that they've recognised symptoms that they've had. Basically, and people have realised. And he'd almost made the diagnosis for himself.
We've done several storylines on meningitis. And when not to panic. What have you eaten today, Angel?
Can actually
actually convey important medical ideas quite usefully through a drama. I just think is really natural and quite healthy.
He's not a well man.
Adrian, you're portraying a GP.
Yeah.
Who did you model your GP on? Is there anyone that you've bumped into in your own experience?
Dr. Kildare, but I had to drop the cigarettes, obviously. No, he was modelled on you.
Oh, yes, right.
He's the truth.
Yeah, but I haven't got my own name on one of these things. So.
You will.
Good take, and turn over.
Right, so what are we shooting next? Makeup?
Baz from Casualty's just been on This Is Your Life.
So I hear.
You don't get excited about things like that, do you?
Not really. I think it's all a bit melodramatic, though I must say I did have a patient walk into me not so long ago with a circulatory disorder in his hand called Raynaud's disease after he saw the signs and symptoms on Peak Practice. He was tickled pink that he'd seen it on television and it was treated by a TV doctor. Won't be complaining about his licence fee ever again.
Value for money, thanks Mark. John?
Coming up later on the programme, the latest research that shows who should be drinking a few glasses. And the terrible twos, just how to cope with the toddlers who won't sleep and refuse to eat.
Britain has one of the lowest breastfeeding rates in Europe. Only 1 in 5 mothers breastfeed for the first 4 months. But new results from an ongoing study show the benefits of breast milk go well beyond childhood. They may even make you a healthier adult too.
Wonderful baby, living on love.
After the war, breastfeeding was out, bottle feeding was in. It meant freedom for the working mother. But since then, opinions have changed and doctors are urging women to go back to breastfeeding. Here at Ninewells Hospital in Dundee, a team of doctors are carrying out one of the most comprehensive studies ever undertaken into the effects of breastfeeding on a child's health. The research was started in 1983 and has followed the development of 500 children, bottle and breastfed, from birth right through to their teenage years. The first batch of tests were carried out when the children were 2. 5 years later, they were called in again.
We tested them between the ages of 6 and 9. We wanted to find out how tall they were, how heavy they were, how much they had in the way of body fat, and we also wanted to know what their blood pressure was.
The results of those tests came out this month. They showed that at 9, the children who'd been exclusively breastfed for 4 months were much healthier. But children who'd been fed solid food as well as breast milk were fatter, heavier and had more chest problems. And most worrying of all, children who were fed on bottles alone had much higher blood pressure.
This indicates that breastfeeding has benefits beyond the period of breastfeeding itself, well into childhood. And of course the next question is, do these benefits extend into adulthood?
Animals who like ferreting around.
Good evening and welcome to Look North. Tonight's